Hi everyone, Tim here on behalf of NUFC Talk TV. Thanks for tuning in to listen to my ramblings about the famous team that plays in black and white. I want to speak about the battle between Elanga and Murphy for that right wing spot ahead of the game against Barcelona and squad rotation in general. So as I speak, we've beaten Wolves 1-0 in our last outing, and the goal came from another assist from Jacob Murphy. I have to say, it's not just been wise after the event, but I was genuinely pleased to hear that Murphy was starting before the game. Now, I think Anthony Elanga could well be a hit for us, but looking at games like Wolves at home, I think Murphy is the better bet at the moment. Not just because he set up that goal, but looking at how the goal came about. That cross came from a position where Murphy had the opposition in front of him. He didn't have loads of space in behind. He had to unlock the door through precision and creativity. That is what Murphy is capable of, and I think that's one of his biggest strengths. In games like that, where you're playing against teams who are sitting deep, you need players who can create something or make something happen against a low block. You need players who don't rely a lot on pace. And that's not to say Murphy is slow or anything. He is quick in his own right. But he's very good at creating chances in those tight spaces, having those flashes of quality in those snap moments when his body's around the ball. We saw the cross for the goal. It was, dare I say it, Alberto Solano-esque. It was right on the money for what it made it. And you go back to the summer pursuit for a right winger. And when you look at it, it was actually really hard to get a new winger in who would improve on Murphy's numbers. I'm not saying we didn't need another right winger. We did. Murphy does have bad games as well. But more often than not, takes a risk in the final third. That is a quality that a lot of modern day footballers lack. And I'd rather have a player who has the bottle, try and do the right thing, at the risk of it going wrong, as opposed to playing it safe. Turning to Elanga, he has that rapid pace that in itself can create chances. He does also have a good cross in his locker. We saw that at Nottingham Forest in open play and from set pieces. And there were moments for us against Liverpool when they were sat very deep. Elanga was still able to manoeuvre the ball past Kirkes and whip a good ball in. So I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability, but he's a bit more hit and miss in that department. So I just think he needs to refine that part of his game so that he has that consistency. Hopefully he will under Eddie Howe. But I think Elanga is best placed to start against teams who are coming onto us. And he has the space to run onto balls played in behind. That strength is what we need to exploit for now from Elanga. So both players bring something different to the table. I think we have different fixtures covered, if you like, with both options. And we can adapt to different tactics and exploit different opposition as best as possible. Speaking about fixtures, there was a certain game that took place at St James's Park in 1997, and a certain player by the name of Tino Asprilla happened to get a hat-trick in that game. Of course, that was against Barcelona in the Champions League. A big factor that night was Keith Gillespie. Their left-back Sergio was run ragged, and when you look at the third goal, with Barca pushing forward, leaving space in behind, the pace and skill shown by Gillespie was absolute quality. That's what I want to see from Elanga against Barcelona, who I would start against their high line. Whether he will or not, we'll see. But no doubt their left back, Alejandro Balde, will push on. Certainly when you look at his heat map this season, you can see how high up he is. So Elanga is a weapon we must use in transition and feed him the ball as quickly as possible if he's playing. And like I say, I was pleased to see Murphy starting against Wolves because it was Eddie Howe using the squad as he needs to. Having said that, I would like to see Joe Linton and Bruno rotated more this season as well. The Ramsey injury doesn't make things easier on that front, and I really hope we've done our homework on Ramsey in regards to his long-term fitness and if he's over any serious injuries going forward. Obviously there's question marks for now. Maybe in that Leeds game any player would have suffered the injury he has after taking that knock. So hopefully it's nothing to do with Fraley, and in 4 weeks time he's up and running. We'll see, because I think he does look talented. He looks sharp in the final third So I think it is important that he is available for a lot of the teams. But now I think you have to rotate with the players that you have. If that means Willock coming in, then so be it. I looked at Willock last season and I thought he was done here. Not just because of his injuries, but because he's lacked that sharpness in the final third. And I thought he needs a move to rejuvenate himself. I've always said I think he's more of a number 10 who can play off the striker, pick up bits and pieces, link the midfields, and get on the end of things as well, and not overthink things. I think when he's playing deeper and he's got that defensive responsibility as well, I think that's where he can be unstuck. Having said that, he did play really well in the season we finished fourth. He can carry the ball well, no doubt. And while he's here, we have to rotate with what we have. And when you factor in Joe Linton's injuries, if it's Willock who comes in on that inside left to give him a breather, then so be it. Another option is to move Bruno to the inside left and have Miley on that inside right position. But Bruno himself needs to be rested at times, and this season is a big one for Lewis Miley. We need to be giving Miley substantial minutes and the platform to prove himself, because I think he has a lot of ability. He's lacked a little bit of conviction when I've seen him in recent times, and the only way he'll get that back is if he plays some games. So we need to give him a chance to grow. And when you think back to when he first came into the side, he was quality. Some of his passing and vision was brilliant. For a 17-year-old to be doing that, you've got to have something about you. So say to Bruno for some games, I'm rested you. He might not like that, but that's fine. I want Bruno to be chomping at the bit. And if the next time he goes onto the pitch, he's got a point to prove in his head, then brilliant. I love Bruno, and taking players in and out of the side isn't a slight on them. We simply need to manage the minutes to get the best out of the squad. Just to be clear, I'd have Joe Linton and Bruno starting against Barca all day long. I think back to Rafa Benitez when it comes to rotation. And actually, I recall his rotation more when he was at Liverpool, because at Newcastle, he didn't have a big squad to play with.
I'm not Father Christmas.
And at Liverpool, I think he used to rotate the side a lot during the first half of the season. Even if a player had a good game, they'd sometimes come in and out of the side, and it would keep everyone sharp. Going into the second half of the season, he'd settle on a more consistent 11. And once he had that settled side, they had the fitness, the sharpness, and the freshness to power on for the second half of the season. And correct us if I'm wrong, from any of the Liverpool fans who are still in and around this channel after the He Who Shall Not Be Named videos. I think Liverpool were quite well known for having strong finishes to the second half of the season, a lot of the time under Benitez, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So I think we can copy that template with all the games we have coming up. We've also got Gordon and Barnes on the left, and as it happens, Gordon's suspension means we have to rotate that position. And Harvey Barnes, I would say, hasn't nailed down that left wing spot so far this season. So you could well see Gordon and Elanga on the wings against Barca. And that pace on the break could be devastating. A side note on Gordon, he needs to start showing more now in the final third. We need to see a bit more end product. Looking ahead to the Barcelona game, I can't wait. I'd love to be there for the atmosphere, but I'll be watching on TV. Speaking of atmosphere, when you watch the 97 game back, even on TV, you can feel that atmosphere was immense. It was absolutely rocking. I've got the old VHS tape of that game. I'm showing my age now. But let's be having a bit of that on Thursday. I totally trust this group of players in that they'll be fired up, and this manager in that will have a detailed plan. We might need a bit of luck if Barca are at their best, but it's a fascinating game, and this is what I want. To be testing ourselves against the best on the biggest stage possible. Well, lads.
Sis and Vance.
Reverse.